So, what do you see that if I could wave a magic wand and give you a thing, what would that thing be that makes your job easier? And when I started thinking about this a couple years back, I thought, when was the last time my boss ever asked me that? And I came up with zero. No one ever asked me, how do I help you do your job better? It's sit
Hmm.
down, answer the phone,
Hmm.
and give customers a good experience. Okay, cool, right on.
Right.
But no one said, hey, you know, if you had a different chair, if you had a tool that did something, or just highlighted a certain field in the in the ticket, it could make your job much easier, much faster. Um, Tool bloat and all these things. It usually I've done these exercises a number of times, and it comes down to a couple things.
Hi, and welcome to the CX Files. My name is Ben Foden, and today's guest is Chris Love. He is currently the Director of Business Operations at RunPod, a developer first platform to build, run, and deploy AI models at scale. Developers love RunPod. And since joining, he has helped drive over 200% revenue growth to 45 million in 12 months through scalable operational frameworks, big on operations, and he has a wealth of experience in tech support across verticals at companies including Kyocera, VMware, and Frontier Airlines. Chris, thanks for joining.
Oh, thank you, Ben. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I've heard about RunPod personally. I like to do some AI projects as a hobby, and it's on my list of tools for sure. Um, and you've got a background that crosses verticals. You've done a ton of different kinds of tech. Um, what are some of the experiences that stand out from early in your career with regards to customer experience?
Boy, so I guess from the earlier part in my career, I started off doing desktop support. So I'd
Hmm.
run around, fix the computers, and if they didn't work, I'd take them back to the tech lab. And then eventually I ran the tech lab where all the harder things to do or harder things to fix came, and we wound up fixing those.
Bigger
Um,
problems.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they realized that I can talk to people. So they moved me into doing
Uh-huh.
technical support, supporting products and services that the company made instead of hardware that somebody else made.
Hmm.
Um, And then, after getting my master's degree, I wound up building, running, and leading those teams for a number of different organizations across multiple industries, like you mentioned. Um, as far as issues that have come up across all of them, I mean, they're all solving problems. I mean, you need to understand that the people that you're talking to are people who have problems, and working in support. It's not a it's not a job where people call up and say, "You know what? This is so awesome, and I just wanted to say thank you for being here, and we love your product, and everything works great." That never
Right,
happens. I mean, you might get that
right,
throughout conversations, but it's not the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth. It's like, "This is
right.
broken, help me fix this."
Hmm.
Um, so, there was a sign that I saw in a building somewhere that says, "Do you see the person with a problem or as a problem?"
Mm.
And I think that kind of sums it up because, you do support for so long, you get jaded and you have an odd sense of humor. It's usually pretty dark. Just like people, I mean, my brother works in medical and his sense of humor is very dark.
Hmm.
So eh, you get to see both sides of that. I mean, yes, I'm here to help you solve your problem, but then, after you do it for so long, you're like, this is hour 12 of the day. I'm like, oh God, what do you want now?
Right,
Stuff
right.
like that. So a lot of it is the perception of who's on the other end of the phone. I mean, your job is to help
Hmm.
them fix their problem and get the most out of what they purchased. That's the job of support. Train them, educate them, be helpful, see them as a person that has an issue that you want to help them solve.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, that's just how support works.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's there's definitely a a negative starting point for most support interactions.
Yeah.
This is not controversial. The nature of the job, as you said. And I think what is I think it's not celebrated enough is the transformation of a negative into a positive through the customer experience, through the support experience. Um, is there some specific stories or examples you could tell us about when you really saw this? The person went from enraged to ecstatic.
Mm, wow.
Maybe that's asking too much.
Enraged to ecstatic. I've seen people come on the phone and they're really angry, and then
Yeah.
you take the time to listen to them, let them vent, and while they're doing that, you're in there fixing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're connected to their machine or whatever it is that you're doing. You're
Mm-hmm.
listening to them talk, and you're fixing the thing. And then as you're fixing the thing, you hear something like, "Well, we're trying to get it to do this." Oh, okay. Well, either it does that or doesn't do that, or they
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to use it. So then
Sure.
you take an extra 30 seconds and say, "Let me explain this to you and how it should work and how it's supposed to work."
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going above and beyond. I mean, according to what they might think, is like, I had this problem, but now you're solving not only that problem, but you're teaching me how to use it. So I look like the hero on my side. That's where it becomes where you get the ecstatic and the happy and all of that, because they called with the problems like, this isn't working, but now they're getting off the phone, it's not working, and they know how to do something they didn't know how to do 30 minutes ago, and they can
Right.
take it back to their team and say, look what we can do now that we didn't know we could do 30 minutes ago.
Right.
And then people are, I mean, they always, you get the nice email back and say, hey, thanks for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get the kudos, and when people worked in cubes, you'd have them all listed out on your cube wall. And yes, I'm dating myself a little bit, I think, but that's what we did.
Yeah. Well, I think stories like that are common to a degree, but you don't hear them as
Mm-mm.
much. Um, and I don't know why that is per se, but I wish that those stories were celebrated more because it's transformative and there's something heroic about it. I mean,
Mhm.
you're saving the day.
Yeah.
That person might have been having a bad day before the call and now they're having a good day.
Mhm. They do need to be
Yeah.
celebrated more, and you're right, they aren't. I guess one of the things that pops in my head is because you hang up that call and your phone rings again and you're on to the next one.
Mhm.
Who are you going to
Mhm.
go tell? It's like, hey, I just go save this person's day. They're like, cool, we all do that all day. Yay.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, when
Yeah.
they do take the time to send in a kudos or a thank you note or something like that, then maybe the manager sees it and then like,
Mhm.
oh, cool. Then you might get a little recognition, but it is a very thankless job. It just is.
Yeah.
Um, and it's unfortunate because they are the face of the company to the customer and the face of the customer to the company.
Mhm.
And I mean, there is no one else likely in the company who knows how the customers use the product as well as the people in support.
Right. Right. And that leads me to one of the questions I'd love to ask
Yeah.
that, there's this idea that everybody in the company should work in frontline support at some point so that they really understand what customers are going through. What do you think about that?
It's humbling. I've also heard the same about sales. Everybody should work sales for a little bit, but
Hmm.
that would be really hard for some people, like myself
Sure.
included. But everyone should work support for a little bit, or at least shadow the support team so they know,
Hmm.
one, what that person does and how that job works, but also what they deal with. And maybe, I mean, I've been in places and it still happens today, no matter where I am. New product release. Cool. Support team's the last people to find out.
Hmm.
The customer calls in
Hmm.
and says, hey, I got this problem with this new thing in the program. And they're like, what new thing? And that's a horrible look. And not only a horrible
Right.
look, but you're like, oh no, well, I don't know how to fix it because I didn't know this existed.
Right.
Um, so things like that are certainly big deals. And when if you're from the product team or the engineering team and you get in front or you have to sit with a support person, um, and you see these things and you're like, oh, we really should tell them what's coming down the pipeline here.
Hmm.
And we've implemented things like monthly trainings. Hey, these are the new features coming out, in 2 weeks, in 1 week, or whatever. Here's how they work. Here's what they're going to do. Here's the documentation, delta documentation from where it is and what it's going to be. Being able to help not only the support team with stuff like that, but it helps the whole customer experience as well as everyone else. You get less tickets because people are informed and they know what's coming up, and you get happier customers because the support team actually knows that this is a new thing. Hey, we're going to fix this thing, and of course, when there's a new product or a new feature, there's likely to be questions and potentially problems with it. We always said new features, new bugs. It's
Right.
it's, it's not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're hitting on a couple of themes here, which I'd love to get into. So one of those is this idea of, the disconnect between the support department and the rest of the departments. The disconnect between the support department and leadership. Why aren't they informed of the product announcement coming up? Why aren't they ahead of the feature release? Um, why aren't they in the room when the roadmap is being planned to represent the customer? Um, and so, you and I understand that CX is foundational to success of business overall. But leadership doesn't always get that. So how do you go about connecting what CX does to core business results?
What CX does to core business results. You can measure support and all types of CX in a number of ways. NPS, things like that. You got your customer sat score, your CSAT, or as we call it, CSAT and DSAT for dissatisfactory
Mm,
solutions. Um, but just by monitoring these things and the metrics that are in place for the organization, you can tie them to support all over the place. I mean,
hmm
CSAT, DSAT, NPS, of course, kind of duh. I mean, those are part of the support life. But when you look at other metrics like which part of the product has the most problems,
hmm
or you look at when you drill down to how much a support ticket costs and
hmm
which organization or like a cadre of organizations like the newly onboarded people have more questions or do they?
Right. Right.
If you look at those types of things and break it down, and if you can always tie it back to money and time,
hmm
then leadership gets it.
Right.
Like, oh wait, we're spending X amount of money because we didn't put that in the documentation. Let's fix that right now. And you
hmm
can, when you tend to show them the dollar signs, they tend to listen a little bit more, or it hits home. And that's
Right.
that's one really good way. And then also it's good for morale and good for the company when you say, hey, this is coming. Let us tell you about it. Let us show you how it works so you can help our customers. I mean, because
hmm hmm
it's all about the customer. I mean, that's why we all have jobs, is because we're serving a customer of some sort.
Right.
And if you're not giving them the support that they feel they need, and I always like to, I think it was HubSpot that had this, to delight the customers. They want to delight the customer, not just fix their problem, but delight them.
Right.
And it makes sense. I mean, if you give them, I mean, in AI, in any industry, there are many competitors for the same space. And if you
hmm
can differentiate yourself by taking an extra 30 seconds and saying, what other problems do you have? Let me help you with this thing. Let me show you how this works. And your competition doesn't do that, you're going to win.
Right.
Assuming your products are comparable.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't win with a terrible product,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I mean, if the playing field is relatively level
Hmm.
and one company has dramatically better support,
Oh, yeah.
well, I mean, it's pretty clear what the result's going to be there over time, at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I have come up against again and again in my career, and I think a lot of people can probably relate to this too, is the idea of short-term profit focus versus long-term value.
Mm.
And um, that might manifest itself as like, hey, we really need to, save X% of budget this quarter, or increase revenue X% this quarter. Um, but if that means that you're cutting corners and that affects customer experience, and then you lose trust, well, obviously that's short-sighted, even if you can't directly tie that decision to more dollars right now. Um, how do you think about this balance between, your intuition as a leader, your sense of the customer versus being data driven?
I think they tie together. Um, the data obviously proves something, but in statistics you can prove anything. It's like, I think it does this, but if you look at it this way, it does it.
Right.
Um, Now I forgot the actual question. I'm sorry.
It's just the idea of relying on data versus
Oh,
having
yes.
a sense of the things that can't be captured in data.
Yes. The gut feel versus the data. So the data is helpful to actually quantify something and pull something out. But I
Hmm.
mean, just like I teach a lot of self defense. I have a very long history of teaching that type of stuff. And you're the hair on the back of your neck that stands up. It's there for a reason. That gut feel
Hmm.
of like something's not right.
Hmm.
It transfers over. I mean, it's there. Like I said, it's there for a reason. Um, so you might feel something, but then once you start looking into it, you're probably going to need the metrics to show how much. It's like, yeah, I feel that this might be off, but oh wow, I didn't realize it was 30% or something like that. You can feel the things, but then in order to take it to leadership, they're going to go, well, you can't just feel it. I need to know. Show me something concrete. Don't come in here with like, I think. No, here's the data, and yes, it is. Um, and then you can also look at the data and go, oh, interesting, because there's so many ways to interpret the data.
Right.
um, you can go, all right, well, I didn't think about that, but okay. And then you kind of check your spidey senses or whatever it is that you want to call them to maybe fine tune them for later.
Hmm.
But they both play the gut feel and the data. They both play together, and they have to.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to miss something.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, it has to be both. I think um, one of the things that we're faced with today in this field, in this industry, in this era, is this drive towards efficiency, and this manifests itself with all the AI tools. You know, I work for one of those companies, but the the idea that AI is coming to take your job, you know, it's true on some level, but it's always been true with all technology, right? I mean, the tractor took the job of the guy that used to dig with the shovel or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Um, but it's about adapting to change, and how do you adapt? And so, what I want to get your opinion on is this idea of um, how do you think about the fear of AI versus the opportunity of AI in terms of inside of a support team, and how do you address this, and where do you kind of um, where do you see that balance landing best?
There certainly is fear of AI, and certainly in support. There are many bots and things that you can create and implement that might take the place of someone who would be a chat agent.
Hmm.
Um, but nothing actually ever takes place of the human. It just doesn't. I mean, the AI doesn't have the feel, and maybe in 5, 10 years it might get that.
Hmm.
But currently, we've all used ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your tool of choice is, and you put in something, and it's like, where did you get that answer? Like I've had it. I've had it when you were a doctor. I'm like, I've never been a doctor. Where did you get that from? So it
Right.
hallucinates and creates these weird things. It does the same with support answers. I mean, I know we've been going through a couple tools currently in my role, and I'm reviewing the answers that they give. And some of them are like, okay, that's pretty good. And others are like, where did that come from?
Hmm.
It'll pull outdated information, and it'll combine things that wouldn't normally make sense, and it doesn't usually have the niceties that a person would, or it's so scripted that's like, okay, this is AI. It's like a phone tree. It's like, I hate those things. Just let me
It's
talk
got
to a
that
person.
smell. Yeah.
Yeah. um they're getting better, and you can certainly tweak and train, and but you got to know how to do that.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not just something that anyone can do and do well and quickly.
Right.
um but there are tools that help with finding information, and I for me, yes, there are some things that can be answered quickly. Like, if someone were to log into the portal and say, "Hey, I need help with this," and it goes, "Oh, you maybe you mean this," and it's like, "Oh, well, there's an article. Great, I will." It's just pattern matching type stuff.
Right.
Um, but then you get into other things where it's trying to be a human, and
Hmm.
it's easy to tell. And I think one of the questions you had mentioned earlier was, and maybe I'm getting ahead of where you're going, but
No, go for it.
that's fine. Um, where is it going in the future? I think
Yeah.
was that part of what it was?
Yeah. So
Um,
past, present, and future. Where are things going?
yeah. Um, I had the answer to that I wrote down for that, but I don't know where it went. Um, I think what I would like to see is where it's being proactive in, if you can tie these AI things into everything. We have it tied into so many different systems. But
Right.
if you're looking for something or you're doing something in the platform, so you're building whatever it is you're building and you're spending a lot of time on this screen.
Hmm.
It could mean that you don't understand something or that something's not working right. And maybe it can pop up and say, "Hey, I see you're stuck here. What do you need help with? Here's like some common things that people need when they're on this screen." You're like, "Oh, perfect. Thank you." So I don't have to go dig through the documentation. Or
Right.
you're just it can, not to be all big brothery, but it knows what you're doing on the website, on the portal, in the platform, and it can go, "Hey, you're here. This is what people do here. Let me help you. Oh, I see you stuck and you need a piece of code. Good. Here's what people normally. Let me point you to the right place."
Hmm.
Things like that would be super helpful. Um, and eventually, it'll be more. It is getting pretty conversational now, but if someone were to hand me a page of documents and says, "Are these generated by some sort of chat model?" And maybe you can pretty much tell. Most
Right.
most every time is like, "Yep, that was," just by the phrasing or the symbols it uses within the document.
Right.
But I'd like it to be more proactive and
Hmm.
actually help people before they start asking for questions.
Yeah. I think context awareness.
Hmm.
Um, so it could be specific to a page or a URL. It
Hmm.
could be specific to a stage of the customer journey. So you
Yeah.
mentioned before about like new customers have different needs than existing customers. Um, and you could segment by, enterprise, medium, and small or something
Sure.
like that as well. And so, the personalization and contextualization, I think, is definitely the future. It starts to get into Big Brother territory,
Yeah, it does.
but if it's helpful and timely, and I opted in,
Hmm.
then I'm here for it, right? I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think one of the big things here is um, with AI and like any new tool, any new technology is trust. And so, if you're forthcoming, if you're really clear that saying like, "Hey, this is AI generated," like there's a little,
Hmm.
the little caption or
Yep.
whatever, letting people know, that goes a long way. Just like don't try to fool people. If you
Yeah.
can, like cite the source, right? Like here's a link to the original that we're
Hmm.
drawing this from. And smart tools out there can do this. Um, but I think from a manager point of view, you have to think about where are we going to place this and
Yeah.
where are we not going to place this, and that decision is a tough one.
Hmm.
And I think there's sort of three categories, and let me know what you think about this.
Sure.
But there's definitely self-serve.
Hmm.
There's maybe self-serve, maybe case by case, and there's definitely not self-serve, right? And so if you have those three, then you can say, okay, well, obviously we're going to use AI on the self-serve side, and
Hmm.
then maybe some of the things in the middle. But if it ends up on the other end of the spectrum, then it's like send them straight to an agent, right? A
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
How do you think about like breaking down those needs and sort of allocating?
It can be done on part of the customer journey for sure. I mean, like I said, new customers tend to have different questions than customers who've been around for a while. And if you do a good onboarding, you provide them with the information they need up front, which some places do really well, and others not so much. It's like, "Here's your tool, great, good luck, have fun." And others is like, "No, you're going to go through 8 hours of training with us before we let you go and do your own thing." Um, You tend to get different outcomes. Um, you can also break it down by what a customer spends. I mean, if you're spending more than X amount per month, skip the bots. Talk to a person.
Right. Yeah.
You have premium models of support where you pay X amount per month for a different SLA. You get,
Right.
you might not have only email and chat support. You might get phone support or whatever, or a dedicated person. If you're a super high spend client, you're probably going to get a dedicated account manager or technical account person. Um, and that's where, maybe one or two shots a day. It's like, what's your question? Boom, here's the answer. And
Hmm.
if this is not my answer, great, then connect me to a person right away.
Right.
Uh, the
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think certainly with premium support models, it's not a super hard lift to do that. I mean, if you're in this tier, great, you get
Hmm.
access to this thing, you know, paywall of some sort.
Right. I think reading between the lines of what you're
Mhm,
saying here, if you'll allow me, I have this. It's very clear from what you're saying that there's value in the human interaction,
mhm,
but it's expensive.
it is.
And so it needs to be justified. But the value is undeniable, right? In your mind, it's a no-brainer. If it's a high-value customer, we give them a human right away,
Mhm,
right? As soon as they want to talk to a human.
yeah.
Um, and you know, that is something that is true even if you have a low margin and low value business. Talking to a human is still a very valuable thing for a customer to have as an option.
Mhm,
And it's maybe you can't do it on every interaction. Maybe there's some things that have to be self-serve just for costs. But the value of the human is the unchanging part of this equation,
sure.
right? And
Yeah.
so, I just want everybody to take a deep breath and be like, we're still valuable out here, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have some bots that team members have created that actually go through and pull information based on the customer account. So
Hmm.
when someone submits a ticket, it's tied to a username or something,
Hmm.
some sort of ID, and that can go through and pull logs, and it can look at the different. They might have a couple different consoles they've got open, and it can pull and say, here's the ones you might want to be looking at. So you don't have to go through and find the logs and log into all the stuff and try
Hmm.
to find the account numbers. It's all there. And while it is sort of AI, I mean, it's doing things behind your back. It's not like thinking on its own. It's doing a certain set of things, but they're super helpful and it can save time. And then it helps your humans be more prepared and have all the information right at their fingertips.
Right, right. So I think that's a great point too, and it's this idea of like how much are you spending on tools per person, per
Hmm.
agent that you
Hmm.
have on your team, right? And it's probably feels like a lot, and it's probably not even close to enough.
No, it's thousands. I mean, just a ticketing system alone is thousands per
Sure,
person, depending on the size of your team.
right.
Um, but yes, you can certainly the tool per person or the per person per tool cost is something certainly to look at, and then how much overlap there is between them. And I'm in the middle of a project to go through all the tools that we have, and we have 85 people and about 170 tools. So I mean, we
You
have a
might be a
lot.
rare
We
case
have a
there.
lot.
Yeah.
um, so it's there's also some overlap in there, and some things it's like, why do we
Right.
even have this? I don't know. Because we
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
Because someone bought it,
Yeah.
and we have a contract.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah.
Right. But I think like the reason, I mean, blatantly, I work for an AI tool company, and so of course I'm pro tools. But I think the reason why that is the reason why I say that people should spend more on tools for their people is because the tools are more powerful than ever, and it makes the employee experience better, right? And employee experience impacts customer experience.
Sure.
And if you have a single human that has superpowers because they've been equipped, that's tools, but also training, of course. Um, now you have this great employee experience that translates to the customer experience. How do you think about like building that employee experience, including all these different
Mhm.
pieces?
Um, First of all, you have to know your team. I mean,
Hmm.
talk to them. Know what makes them tick. I mean, when I do one-on-ones with people, yeah, I talk about work, but I also talk about other stuff. Who are you?
Hmm.
Because you're
Hmm.
everyone's a person, and the other 16, however many hours a day they get to spend outside of work. Um, and certainly, if something's happening at home, it could impact your day-to-day work life, which also could impact your customers.
Right.
So talking to your team, knowing what makes them tick, and then asking them simple questions like, "How can we make your job easier? What makes your job better? What tools do you think we need? Because I don't do your job anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so what do you see that if I could wave a magic wand and give you a thing, what would that thing be that makes your job easier?" And when I started thinking about this a couple years back, I thought, when was the last time my boss ever asked me that? And I came up with zero. No one ever asked me, how do I help you do your job better? It's sit
Hmm.
down, answer the phone,
Hmm.
and give customers a good experience. Okay, cool, right on.
Right.
But no one said, hey, you know, if you had a different chair, if you had a tool that did something, or just highlighted a certain field in the in the ticket, it could make your job much easier, much faster. Tool bloat and all these things. It usually, I've done these exercises a number of times, and it comes down to a couple things: documentation, process, and it's lack of usually of these things. Um, Lack of process, lack of documentation. Um, People are siloed; they don't understand what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, the wrong tools, because
Yeah.
as the company grows, you might start out with this tool that's built for smaller companies, and
Right.
then you outgrow that tool, but no one thinks about replacing it because the lift to replacing a tool that's embedded into your stuff is not nothing.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
expensive. It takes time. People have to learn a new thing. But in the end, if it makes the life of the support person or the account manager or whomever, and certainly these tools have to talk. If I'm an account manager and I'm going on my QBR with a customer, I want to know how many support tickets they've got, how many they had, what their problems were, did they give good or bad um, feedback to the agents.
Hmm.
Um, I want to know that stuff, and by integrating the tools, hopefully you can tell that.
Right.
Um, I think I got away from the subject that we were talking about, um, but where was I going? I don't even remember.
You're talking about documentation
Yep,
process
yep.
and then
Documentation
having
process.
the right tools in place, essentially.
Yep,
Not
yep.
not, too
Those,
many, not too few.
yeah, and then people usually comes up too, and it's usually people are why people stay in a job.
Hmm.
Like, why aren't you leaving? Because I love the
Right.
people.
Right.
Okay, cool. That's great that you like the people, the culture, things like that. And it can help you do your job. It makes you feel comfortable. And if the culture is horrible where you are, doesn't fit with what your thing is, you're not going to have a good day. You're not
Right.
going to want to help the customers.
Right. That's going to translate.
So yeah, so just it's a simple thing. Ask them. They do the job. They know what's missing or there's too much of or is a problem, and they will tell you if you ask them. Otherwise, it's well, if I complain to my manager, they're going to see me as blah blah blah. It's not a complaint. It's more of a, hey, this could help us do better. This could help me do my job better, which makes you look better.
Right.
It's that type of a thing, and it isn't done enough. People don't ask.
Yeah. I think, there's definitely a inertia,
Mhm.
a legacy of management, which is push versus pull, right? Here's what we're doing. Here's how you do it. Go get it done, right? It's all push.
Yeah,
Versus what are we doing? How can we get it done, right? It's pulling, right?
yeah,
And you can ask a leading question, right?
sure.
You can direct people with a question. You're trying to get information from them, but you're asking about a specific topic, right? So I think push versus pull is the best way I could sum that up.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. With more emphasis on the pull.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and push being the bad example
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Um, but I think that there's it goes to the actual experience of support as well, right? I mean, if a customer has a need and you say, here's what you do versus what about this? That feels very different,
Yeah.
right? What else do I need to know about your situation to help you?
Hmm.
So like really understanding, whether it's you're talking to your manager and you're trying to understand what they want from you, or you're talking to a subordinate and you're trying to guide them,
Hmm.
like trying to understand what they need or what the customer needs, right? So I'm a big advocate of like don't say do this, say, here's some ideas, what do you think?
Yeah.
Or, how can we do this better, right?
Yeah. People tend to do better when they feel like they have buy-in in the solution.
Sure.
Yeah. Instead
Yes.
of you directed me to do this thing, and I'm like, fine, I'll do it, whatever.
Right.
Or like, hey, I felt like I had a hand in creating this solution. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to champion this. And, then I'm going to go tell other people about it. And then, this is how I solved that problem because of this cool thing that I came up with. Maybe you came up with it,
Right.
maybe you didn't, but, you know, you think you did. And that gives you a sense of ownership for it.
Right. One of the things, I mean, having ownership is key. I
Oh,
totally
yeah.
agree. Having a sense of ownership, having like, the mentality of a business owner, um, as one guest put it recently, is a super powerful thing to do. One of the pieces that you touched on was this idea of documentation,
Hmm.
and I want to extend that a little bit because it's it comes up again and again that I think people understand intuitively that like it's important. Like having an up-to-date knowledge base is like, yes, that's important. I know, but it's kind of like pulling teeth. Like people are just like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, like I guess, you know. Do you have any thoughts about like setting up a knowledge culture, setting up a writing culture, setting up a culture of like proactive documentation?
Hmm. I, when I work with support teams, I always want them to create articles. You've solved this problem once, it's going to come up again,
Mm-hmm.
and it will all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why not document it? Solve it once. I mean, how many times you need to reinvent the wheel? I mean, just you spent 6 hours doing this, and the person overseas, after you close this ticket out, 3 days later, they're going to get the same question. Now they're going to go spend 6 hours on it when you could have
Right.
documented it, and they're like, "Oh, cool, here it is, done, 5 minutes." Um, so being able to document things and the solutions and the ticketing tools make it so easy now. It's like create KB article from this, boop, done.
Right.
Enter a
Right.
question that you're going to put it in there, and there it is. Um, it becomes really important when you get the AI things in there
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know what's current and what's not unless you tell it.
Right.
And so you've got 5 articles on something for each different version, and if they're not labeled or it doesn't know, you're going to get one of those 5, and it may or may not be right, and chances are it's not going to be right. And then you've got a
Mm-hmm.
mad customer on the other side because you just did this
Right.
thing and I deleted my stuff. Oops.
Right.
um, so creating the knowledge base, creating the articles is one thing, but then you have to actually maintain them because they do expire. And it can be a full-time job, just depending on the size and the amount of documentation in your company. An L&D person or a documentation specialist or whatever it is that you want to call it, um, having someone in there to do that and go through the articles, or even as simple as an expiration date up there, check it in 3 months. I mean, we use Notion for a lot of stuff, and you can put in there, check this article in next quarter. Is it
Mm-hmm.
still valid? Did anything
Mm-hmm.
change? Do I need to get rid of it? All of these things are super helpful to create, a good knowledge base. Because you can stuff all the knowledge you want in there, but if no one can find it or if it comes up wrong, it's not doing anybody any good.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about that more, but I'm at risk of jumping into a sales pitch, so I'm going to hold off. Um, I think the knowledge piece, it might not be the sexiest thing, right?
No.
It doesn't get the headlines. It might not by itself get budget or get momentum internally. We know it's critical. It's at the foundation. But I think again to the earlier point, connect it back to dollars, right?
Mhm.
If you're trying to get an initiative going, and I want to also touch on um, this idea I have been working on, this idea of the doorman versus the doormat, and of course the human agent versus the tool, right? The self-serve tool. But um, you wouldn't treat a doorman like a doormat, right? That's just
Not,
being rude, right?
yeah.
But you also should not expect a doormat to behave like a doorman. Like there are times when you want one or the other, right? I don't want a doorman at the drugstore. You know what I mean?
No.
I want a door that opens automatically when I step on the doormat, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that there's a freedom in understanding this, like from the team's point of view internally. You can let go of the doormat needs, and you can focus on the doorman needs, right? And it's good to not do the repetitive, tedious work. As an employee, it just feels
Mhm.
better to not do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there an actual? What's the actual question in there?
I'm just riffing here, and I'm trying
Okay.
to get your reaction. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, the, explain it. Explain it again. Now that I understand where we're going with this, the doormat versus the doorman, they're not the same. Obviously, you wouldn't treat a doormat like a doorman. That'd be
Right, but
weird.
I think so from a leadership point of view, if you're
Mhm.
talking to your team and they're concerned about, okay, we're going to do self-serve AI and
Uh,
it's going to take our jobs or
yeah.
something like that, right? What I see as the opportunity, and I'm not the first person to say this, but if you handle the simple things, if you have the doormat available, people can walk in and out, the
Mhm.
door opens automatically, then the humans, same number of humans on the team, or maybe more, they can do the high touch things. To our point, to your point earlier about, the interaction of human to human is super valuable, and you want to save that for where it makes sense,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to use that for every interaction for every type of
Sure.
customer, maybe,
Yeah.
but I think just to help people get their mindset around this, the AI can save you from the boring, low impact, wasteful stuff.
Where do I download
And
my invoice? Things like that. Oh, it's here.
right. Right. I mean, so maybe this is all obvious to you, but I feel like there needs to be some recognition that, you know, it's not just taking things away from us. It's saving us from doing the boring bad things.
Allowing us to do more, maybe with less. I mean, sure. I mean, we can close 800 tickets a week using AI, and if we get 25% deflection to, or the AI thing takes up 25% of the tickets of those 800, great. Now those other 600 tickets can be solved by either fewer people or more in depth and more more correctly. So you don't have someone going, "Oh God, I've got 600 tickets to get through, and I'm just going to blast through these things as quick as I can. I'm not going to be nice to the customer. I'm just going to here's answer done next answer."
Right.
Um, you can have a human interaction because you
Yeah.
get to a point where the humans are trying to beat the AI, and you in speed you're not going to.
Right.
They're quick, um, but you can beat it with humanness,
Right.
and being able to serve more people, with either fewer headcount or serve them better with better answers or just get them what they need.
Hmm.
Why would you not do that? So I think the tools and the people need to go hand in hand. And if the tools can help the people, be the people being the support people,
Hmm.
um, you're just arming them with something to help them do their jobs better, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate how you think about it. There's I think of the opportunity that you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, where not only did you help this person who was super frustrated, but you added something that they
Yeah.
hadn't asked for. And so, like, those are it's just one example of the kind of opportunity that you have if you aren't crushed by a ticket backlog
Yeah.
of like tedious things, right? You could say like, "Hey, here's an important customer. We're gonna go above and beyond and like make a recommendation or suggest a new
Mhm.
idea," right? Um, and those things add up.
I think all customers are important. I don't love the idea of this customer is more important. Yes, they may spend more
Right.
now, but you
Yeah,
don't know what's
important is
going to
not the right
happen.
word to
No,
use.
I wasn't calling out on that. It was more of a, it happens throughout business. Like, well, this is a huge important customer for
Hmm.
the moment. until they're not, or until the customer that's spending $10 a month is now spending $10,000 a month because our support
Right.
team showed them
Right.
that we care and we can
Hmm.
help them with their queries and we are there to help them get the most of their product. Now
Right.
they're spending $10,000 a month.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, you never know,
Yeah, yeah,
that, the little grandma that you helped last night, she might have a
exactly.
son who's the CEO or something, right? You
Yeah,
never
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You get a phone call, it's like, hey, why don't you come work for this team? We're like, whoa. That's never happened to me though.
so, so Chris, I want to wrap up the
Yeah.
episode here. I think we've covered some great ground today. Is there a thought that you have for people who are moving forward in their career? They want to level up. They want to, achieve some of the things that you've achieved.
Mhm.
They want to make the case internally. They want to do these sorts of things that advance their career, and their teams. Can you share some advice or some thoughts you have, some things for people to think about?
Mhm. And find the thing that you're passionate about. I mean, I was passionate about solving problems. That's what I love to do.
Hmm.
Um, I love to build things and fix things. I am a fixer. That's, you put me in an organization, I will find the problems and I will get them fixed. Um, so find the thing you're passionate about. If it's fixing problems, if it's working with customers, if it's helping them be more educated, if you love the data part, you know, see if you can spend some time with those other teams and see what it's really like doing those jobs. I mean, some places allow you to spend a day or a couple hours a month working with another team just to, like you were talking about earlier, having everybody spend some time in frontline support. Maybe you get some time to spend with the data team or with the account executive team and find the thing that you really like doing because support you see everything. You see the technical, you see the customer service side, you see the operations piece. I mean, that I started my job or my career doing tech and then support, and now I run operations.
Hmm.
They're kind of the same in the fact that I solve problems. I solve different problems. I solve
Hmm.
business problems now. Um, but find the thing that you like, and the other piece of that is ask questions up and down. If you don't understand something, if something doesn't make sense, if you're like, hey, my team, I feel that the morale's low. I feel something isn't right. Ask them, what can I help you with to make your job better? It's a simple question.
Absolutely.
And they will have
Hmm.
an answer
Hmm.
because it's like, oh, I need this. Or we have too many clicks in this workflow to make this thing work. Just take out 2 clicks and you'd be surprised. 2 clicks doesn't take much time, but it annoys the crap out of people. It's 2 extra things that I would not have to do 500 times a day.
Right.
And it could be a simple workflow change.
Hmm.
And that makes
Hmm.
all the difference. And even if you're, a frontline person, ask the other people, what would make your life better? Because maybe you're all thinking the same thing and you go, hey, can we get this fixed, please?
Right.
And then you can mention it to your supervisor, and then when they get it fixed, everyone wins. They get a
Yeah.
happier team, you get happier customers, you make more money.
Yeah. And everybody loves a process improvement too,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
you can identify that with that simple question. So I
Mhm.
think that question is super powerful.
Yeah.
Chris, this has been a great chat. I really
Awesome.
appreciate your perspective
Yeah.
on these things.
Thanks, man.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. And, Chris Love, everybody, you want to reach out to him. You
Yeah.
need a great operations guy. I think he's taken right now, but yeah, it's been a pleasure, Chris, and we'll see everybody next time on the CX Files. Bye.
Thanks, Ben.